You spend hours studying, yet by tomorrow, most of it has already disappeared. Not because you're bad at learning, because your brain was designed to forget. Sound familiar? Now, here's something that might surprise you. In Japan, students are expected to memorize more than 2,000 kanji characters before graduating. Not just recognize them, but write them, pronounce them, and use them correctly in different situations. Think about that for a second. Thousands of complex symbols remembered for years. So what is their secret? Are Japanese students simply smarter? Do they study longer than everyone else? Not exactly. The biggest difference is not how hard they study, it is how they structure their learning. While most people treat studying like a sprint, Japanese students treat it like a rhythm, and that rhythm is built on 5 principles that work with the brain instead of against it. Once you understand them, the way you study will never be the same. And stay until the end because the final principle is the reason most students lose everything they worked so hard to learn, and almost nobody talks about why. The first principle is called active recall. Most people think memory is about putting information into the brain. The truth is that memory is about pulling information out. Before learning anything new, many Japanese students do something counterintuitive. They do not immediately open a textbook, reread their notes, or start highlighting. Instead, they pause and ask themselves one simple question: what do I remember from yesterday? They close the book and try to retrieve the information from memory before reviewing it. This technique is called active recall. At first, it feels uncomfortable. You struggle, you feel like you're forgetting everything. But that is exactly why it works. Every time you force your brain to retrieve information, you are strengthening the neural pathway connected to that memory. It's like lifting weights. The struggle is not a sign of failure. The struggle is the exercise itself. That is why Japanese students often spend less time consuming information and more time retrieving it. The second principle is known as the Kumon Method. Most students approach learning like they are trying to drink from a fire hose. Huge amounts of material, one sitting, complete mental overload, and almost nothing retained. In 1954, a Japanese mathematics teacher named Toru Kumon developed a different approach after watching his son struggle with school. He began creating small, carefully sequenced worksheets, each one slightly more difficult than the last, designed to build mastery gradually rather than rushing toward completion. The Kumon method is built on one belief: small daily progress beats occasional bursts of effort. Instead of studying 20 chapters in a panic, you master one concept, then another, then another. It sounds slower, but it's actually faster because knowledge built gradually stays longer. Think about learning a language. You wouldn't try to memorize an entire dictionary in one weekend. You learn a few words, use them repeatedly, and build from there. That's exactly how the Kumon method works. The third principle is a Japanese concept known as shu. Have you ever noticed how some people sit down and focus almost instantly? No procrastination, no scrolling, no 20-minute battle with distraction? In Japan, part of a practice called shu involves deliberate rituals that signal to the brain it is time to focus. Picture this: a student sits at the same desk every day. They arrange their notebook, sharpen their pencil, and pour a cup of tea before opening a single page. To an outsider, these actions seem insignificant. To the brain, they are powerful signals. Over time, the mind begins associating those specific rituals with concentration. The environment becomes a trigger, and the trigger makes focus automatic instead of effortful. You don't need an elaborate ritual: a consistent desk, a specific notebook, 2 minutes of quiet before you begin. The simplicity is the point. The brain learns from repetition. Give it the same signal before every study session, and it will start arriving ready. The fourth principle is called spaced repetition. Even after learning and focusing effectively, there is still an invisible problem waiting to undo everything: the forgetting curve. In the 1880s, German psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus conducted some of the first scientific experiments on human memory. He discovered that without any review, people forget approximately 70% of new information within 24 hours. But he also discovered something more important. Every time you review information at the right interval, just before it fades completely, you dramatically slow the rate of forgetting. Think of memory like a plant. You don't water it once and expect it to survive forever. You water it consistently. Memory works the same way. Review after one day, then a few days later, then a week later, then a month later. Each review arrives just before the memory disappears. The result is that instead of constantly relearning the same information, you strengthen it until it becomes genuinely difficult to forget. The fifth and final principle is Kaizen. This is the principle that ties everything together, and it's the one most students never apply. Kaizen is one of the most famous ideas in Japanese culture. It means continuous improvement through small, consistent actions. Most people want dramatic transformation. They want to wake up tomorrow with perfect study habits and a photographic memory. But that's not how real progress works. Japanese students understand that massive results come from tiny actions repeated consistently. One review session, one focused study block, one extra retrieval attempt. None of these seem impressive alone, but together they create momentum. And momentum is what most people are actually missing. Not intelligence, not talent, not time. This is why the routine works. It's not one magical technique, it's a system. Active recall strengthens memory, the Kumon method prevents overwhelm, Shu creates automatic focus, spaced repetition defeats forgetting, Kaizen keeps everything moving forward. Each principle supports the next, creating a rhythm that works with how the brain naturally learns. The students who remember the most are rarely the smartest. They're usually the ones following a better system. And maybe the reason you have struggled to remember things has nothing to do with your memory at all. Maybe nobody ever taught you how memory actually works. Here's your challenge. Don't try to implement everything at once. Pick one principle, maybe active recall, maybe a simple Shu ritual before you study. Start with one, master it, then build from there. That's Kaizen in action. Drop a comment below. Which Japanese study method are you going to try first? I'm Sam, and I will be reading every single one of your comments. If this video helped you, subscribe for more videos that will help you become better every day.